Hi, I'm Alison from Alison's Astrology, and I've come to talk to you about the week beginning 27th of October. Now, firstly, is that correct? Yes. 27th of October to the 2nd of November 2024, and this is a very interesting week. It begins with a creative trine aspect on Sunday between Mars and Neptune, and that's across 27 degrees of Cancer and Pisces. So Neptune's been in Pisces forever. And it's now retrograding, doing its last little thing there. And Mars is obviously still in the last degrees of Cancer, waiting for its opposition to Pluto. But meanwhile, it's making this lovely creative trine to Neptune. And as the moon's in Virgo at the same time, in a T-square with Venus and Saturn, so a kind of constructive, challenging thing there with across the mutable sign, so a little bit changeable, but also practical, because Virgo is always really practical. So you might be challenged to use this trine between Mars and Neptune creatively and productively. And there will be nothing superficial about how you go about that, however, because Mercury is still in Scorpio, guiding our thoughts to penetrate that surface gloss, or maybe dross sometimes, and discover the deeper layers of meaning. So it's quite an intense time, potentially spiritual. Yeah, you might feel that way, quite spiritual, but it's also imaginative and creative, I think, for dreams, painting, writing, all that kind of stuff, but stuff that goes quite deep. And that's tomorrow or today, actually. I'm recording this on Saturday. So across the sky still, Pluto hovers at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And this god of the underworld is waiting there for this Mars opposition before it moves into Aquarius on the 19th of November. And the opposition is continuing to gain intensity all week. And it's forming this cradle with Neptune and Uranus across the earth and water signs. And the cradle's quite tight, 27, 26, 29 degrees, of those signs. And it's adding a positive feel to the energy, because Mars and Pluto can be quite destructive. But this cradle is potentially enabling this power. I mean, there's real power in Mars and Pluto to be channeled more constructively, more humanely, more compassionately with Neptune there. And then moving on to Wednesday, Mercury is making an opposition to Uranus, almost 26 degrees of Taurus. It's something like 25, 57 minutes or something. And then there's Mercury across the way in Scorpio. So our planet of understanding and communication opposing our planet of change. So that could suggest a kind of parting or breaking off of some kind. Or it could suggest, because Mercury is also about thought, about news, about all that kind of stuff, a new development or a new understanding of something. Or maybe some surprise information comes to light. Yeah. And Uranus in Taurus, it could be about land, nature, finances, even our physical bodies, actually. That's our physical manifestation in the world. There's nothing more physical, really, and sort of down to earth, as it were, than Taurus, the first of the earth signs. And in Scorpio, Mercury can be about shared finances, resources, or deeper transformation, deeper ways of understanding things. Mars, Neptune, and Pluto are all kind of positioned still in this sort of cradle formation to offer energy and support there. Yeah, so again, these interesting, deep, and potentially transformative sort of signatures appearing in the sky this week. It's really an interesting week. So pay attention, watch what happens, maybe write down dreams, things that occur to you. Sometimes things that occur to us, just out of nowhere in that moment, they can be significant, actually. It can be like a little kind of arrow from somewhere else just saying, yes, it's this, in fact. So pay attention. And a major theme of these few days, actually, these few days leading up to the weekend, next weekend, is a winding down or assimilation of the things that have happened sort of since the eclipse, really, in the last few weeks, because this old moon is now waning and finally sort of returning to its source, I say finally, it does it every month, but you know, it's interesting when this happens. At the dark of the moon, it's a time for going inwards and reflecting on the cycle that you've just experienced, the cycle that's just passed. And it's about finishing things up, ready for a new beginning, you know, sort of tying up loose ends. Yeah, finishing things off really so you can start afresh. In some areas anyway, whatever areas of your life this new moon is occurring in. And it's occurring actually at 9 degrees 35 Scorpio. So, you know, wherever that falls in your chart, that Scorpio degree, that'll be important to you for this new moon. And it's no coincidence actually that the new moon occurs on the 1st of December, excuse me, which is All Souls Day, Samhain in the Celtic tradition. Excuse me, when bonfires were lit and the ancient burial mounds were open, giving access to other worlds. And like Beltane on the 1st of May, this is a liminal or threshold festival, a pause between like one way of being on the other, like so you're kind of standing on the edge, sort of neither one thing or the other. And it's a bit like a rite of passage in life, you know, you're sort of maybe you're standing at the altar and you're not quite married yet or something like that. You know, you're neither not married nor are you married, but you're kind of there in the middle of it. And these festivals are like that. And it's a little pause, a moment when boundaries are blurred and contact between with the spirit world and other worlds becomes more possible. So they say, and I do believe. So the new moon then occurs lunchtime on Friday the 1st of November in Europe. And it's at, as I said, 9 degrees Scorpio, and it makes a flowing trine to Saturn, which is then hovering at 12 degrees of Pisces. So it's waiting actually to turn direct on the 19th as Pluto enters Aquarius. And the Scorpio new moon is about deep emotion, death and rebirth, always with Scorpio, finances, always. And it may be the beginning of a new cycle, which could be emotional, transformational, profound. And there is really some magical astrology around this new moon. So if you can take a moment, it's 12:47 in the UK, 13:47 in Europe, just to pause, reflect on how you feel. Remembering that this time is exceptional, you know, and it won't repeat. So just take that moment, stop, breathe, ask yourself, what am I feeling now? The new moon, of course, in Scorpio, it's going to be ruled by Mars and Pluto, the modern and the traditional rulers of the sign. And they're in opposition, as I keep saying. And the opposition is connected to Neptune, Uranus, and Mercury, creating a sort of interactive web of our personal engagement with the outer planetary heavyweights. And this kind of reminds us how we're all deeply connected to one another and to our planet. You know, on a deeper level, there's no, you know, island. We're not islands in some ocean, or maybe we are islands, but at some deeper level, you know, that even the islands connected under the ocean to the planet. And that's how we are. We're connected to one another in that same way. It's just that on the surface, we appear separate. So even Venus and Jupiter, symbolizing relationships, obviously Venus, values and growth, and Jupiter, which is our growth planet, they're both unhappy and out of their comfort zones. Venus in Sagittarius, Jupiter in Gemini. But at this moment, they're brought together by sensitive Chiron. So again, you know, a connection there, a connection about what it means to be human, really. And that the wound it belongs to all of us. If something's wrong, you know, it's all of our business, actually. And we all need to work to sort it out. And again, there's an absence of Earth in this chart. I mentioned that last week, with the exception of Pluto, who, as the Capricorn goatfish, isn't as earthy as he first appears. So this marks a time as spiritual as well as practical, a time for experiencing, perhaps, for being creative. So rather than doing physical stuff in the material world, if you can, think about, you know, doing things that are more compassionate, more creative, more engaging with others, just linking up to your fellow human beings, in fact, perhaps. Especially if your chart has links to that new moon at 9 degrees Scorpio. And then on Saturday, November the 2nd, Mercury, our planet of understanding and communication, is in the last degree of Scorpio, and it's making that lovely positive contact. It's a sextile with Pluto and a trine with Mars, with the opposition, and offers the possibility of discussion, insight, and information with that contact. Something deep there and profound could perhaps happen, profound understanding, profound insight. And then as night falls on the 2nd, Saturday the 2nd, Mercury slips from Scorpio into Sagittarius. And there it's in mutual reception with Jupiter, the planet of growth. And Jupiter's currently retrograde, revising, rethinking, reevaluating, gathering extra data before making a decision. Information then with Mercury, sort of in sympathetic relationship, starts to fill in the detail of the bigger picture. And so then what we see on a community or personal level becomes more in harmony with sort of what the universe wants, with our wider sense of understanding. And that just leaves the Mars-Pluto opposition to finally perfect on Sunday the 3rd. But that's for next week. Thank you. Thanks for listening. And I've actually going to post this on my blog as a written piece. So if you like to read stuff too, then it's going to be out there. Thank you very much.